Name tags. You want name tags, Andrew? Andrew says, where are the name tags?
Oh,
I can
okay.
do that. I can find it. I turned them off. Why can't, let's see, brand? Would that be under brand?
You should have
Some
your name
point.
as Christopher Pike.
Christopher Pike. Is it in settings? It got turned off at some point, and I cannot remember how to turn it back on.
No count. No countdown. Boomer.
No
That's
countdown. We do not do countdowns here.
we're
We just
live.
it's dive right in. We're like breaking news. It just happens. It's just we
This
interrupt this programming for.
yeah.
Oh, here we go. I guess it's running. Use banners. No banners. I'll have to figure out where that button is now. I turned it off at some point and I can't remember how to turn it back on.
We'll
Maybe the
figure that.
hive mind will give me instructions.
Right.
Your interview went down well, Andrew. We
Which
had a
one
good.
was
It was a great discussion. I really enjoyed talking to Andrew. Probably the easiest discussion I've had since I started this channel. Most natural, most comfortable.
was that the most recent one?
No, that was Nathan. That was a good interview too. That was enjoyable. But Andrew was just very easy to talk to. I just maybe two Southern Californians chatting
Oh,
it up
was
across the generations.
oh and
Was
oh yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
I
he's
remember that.
21.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. What's up, dude? Chemical
Um,
engineering was studying.
right, right. He's taking a break.
Yeah, he'll do well.
Oh, he will. He's a smart man. Um, yeah. Let me show you this thing with. We don't have to play it all.
Okay.
And I'll play it fast at a
Yeah,
faster speed because to get through the
sure.
pauses. But I want you to listen to specifically or notice. I'll tell the story about my experience at the vineyard,
Okay.
which is very wooey.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
very wooey
that's why we're here.
experience at the vineyard, and the way Paul frames it. Okay,
Hmm.
um, he called it a vineyard exorcism in the headline,
Hmm.
which is a frame I've never used before to describe my own experience.
Ye- Okay. Gotcha.
Yes, SoCal. Different generations, same culture, no question. All right, let's play. Let's see if I can share this with Paul and me. Um,
And we're rolling.
we
Stand
are
by.
almost stand by.
Roll B. Get ready to take B and take it.
Here, I'll just.
Hit. Push play.
There we go. That looks pretty good.
Wake up, Paul.
Uh oh, got it on mute.
For young men, it would be,
Start.
the only marriage advice I have for young men, it would be what I gave it in Connecticut, where I said, she's the hill you die on.
Mm.
I just am not. And that had some pushback to it, but I think it's, if that's not your approach, it's, well, I can't say. What I'm gonna say though is that well, my wife had a similar attitude, I guess, because I put her through. As I said, I probably shouldn't use that language that I used in Connecticut, but I said I'm a hard person to live with, or I have been. Taking me from my very beginnings. When we first got married, I was 26, heading fast to 27, and an undiagnosed person with type 2 bipolar disorder. I've been living with it since adolescence, and it had gotten progressively worse. And on our honeymoon, everything's great. We land in San Francisco, and suddenly inundated with homeless people. Whatever it was triggered the depression. And in the middle of our depression, I'm in a cripple. I mean, in the midst of our honeymoon, I'm in a crippling depression. Um, so she's probably at that point wondering, what did I sign up for?
Mhm.
On the other hand, there was a lot of love, a degree of passion that gets things started, I suppose. But the love, and she's also a person of profound character and stubborn, and so yeah, it was, and she was willing to go for the ride to let me figure it out all the way from going, at one point, that's when I'm probably, how old would I have been? Yeah, it was only a year or two into the marriage. We're attending the Vineyard in Anaheim. Wimber's still alive at the time. And I'm running a business, and I cannot get the devil to stop talking to me.
Mhm.
I'm working all day. I was a shoemaker, so I'd work with my hands, so a lot of time alone. And when I say the devil talking to me, was it audible voices? I don't know. It's awfully close to audible, but I would say no, it wasn't quite. Oh, there's someone behind me. No, it was more. It's all in the head, and just condemnation and just you're worthless. It's worthless. It's not. It's just this boom, 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 boom. This daily sort of negativity that just could not shut off from morning till night. And so we're going to the Vineyard. You keep all this inside. Nobody sees what's happening. This is what's
Exactly.
happening inside.
Yep.
And so one night we're at the Vineyard. It's ministry time. If you're acquainted with the Vineyard, it was music, sermon, ministry time.
And you should explain to people what ministry time means.
In the Vineyard at that time, it probably is still like this to some degree, but at that time you had laity throughout the congregation trained to pray for people and minister to their needs, basically, for healing, for support, emotional, physical, you name it. And
We did the same thing in our CRC church in Grand Rapids. Had a whole bunch of charismatics in that church. And we did the same thing there. So keep going. Yeah.
Okay. So if everybody you need help, stand up or raise your hand if you can't stand, right? And people around you will come. Well, I did. I just did it. I bolted up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to stand up. And suddenly I have a guy whispering in my ear, three other people all around me. Don't know them. I couldn't picture them, pull them out of the crowd. Never saw their faces as far as I could tell. At least not in my memory. And guy whispers in my ear because it's loud. There's like 5,000 people in this auditorium. All these people talking. And what do you need? I said, cannot get the devil out of my head. I can't shut him up. Okay. Boom. Next thing I know, somebody's got their hand on my head. Somebody's got their hand on my heart. People got their hands on my back, and they're praying, some in tongues, some in English, maybe some in another language. I don't know. It's a cacophony. It's glossolalia or whatever, it's a holy gibberish. And I just go into a kind of semi-trance state. I just felt my head go back, and I'm elevated. I don't know. I'm just in a different space mentally. Next thing I know, they're done. They're gone. They're off. Nobody asked me, "Are you okay?" Nothing.
Really?
They said, nope. They had coordinated between themselves. My guess is they left me in a kind of trance state. They call slaying of the spirit or something.
Yeah.
And they saw, because it's very common. I didn't fall. I didn't lay down. I didn't sit down. I just stood like a board straight up.
Oh.
And my guess is there was a few minutes of that. It was not uncommon for them to just let somebody lay there. If they got slain in the spirit, you'd let them lay there and let God do whatever he's doing.
Yep.
And if somebody starts shaking, what are you going to do? You let them shake, whatever. Or are they going to sit, whatever. It's going to sit or cry or laugh. You just let them do whatever's happening. You leave it alone.
Yep.
That was kind of the training. I did some of it. But anyway, later. But I come out of it. The wife's looking at me like, no big deal. To me, it was a big inner traumatic, mind-blowing experience. And as far as she's concerned, I didn't see anything. I saw you standing, and then you were done and you sat back down. And I did. And on the way home, it's like dead silence in there. Just gone. Just everything. That voice was gone. Now, one of the ironic thing with all this, depression actually got worse after. In retrospect, I should have gone back for the depression and gone back and gone back and gone back. That's the lesson.
Yeah.
I should have been more. I should have been like one of those parables, was it the widow or who keeps nagging the judge? Or
that and Jesus. Well, what do you see? It looks like trees walking around, and Jesus goes in a second time. Even Jesus goes in a second time.
Yes. Yeah. So now I know. But then I thought, see, here's the funny thing is admitting we have everyone has these layers of conditioning and barriers. And it was probably more shameful to admit to serious mental illness than it was in this context to admit to being under a spiritual attack. Because in the 90s at that time, this would have been early 90s, very early 90s. It would have been really hard to admit to my parents that I had depression. I resisted that for a long time because it was very shameful. You did not, even to this day, my mother has dementia. It's like, I'm not crazy. I know you're not. It was a big phobia, big taboo.
Today, it's the inverse. You know, everybody's depressed, but to say
You're talking to the devil.
Head, well, you don't want to say that. It's super interesting how that is inverted.
Right. So yeah. So that was that experience.
Well, let me ask you something. How did the devil get in your head? Do you know? Do you know when that started?
That goes all the way back. I think it's epigenetic.
Okay.
See, I had my first, what is a suicidal machination? I don't know if it quite qualifies as a suicidal machination, but at around the age of 9 or 10, my dad kept handguns, not a lot, but he had kept 1 or 2 tucked away here and there. And I was 9 or 10 looking at it. I was always fascinated by guns. And because I told you as a kid, I wanted to be in the military and all that. Anyway, growing up on Audie Murphy movies and John Wayne and all that. But I'm looking at this gun. It's loaded. I'm saying it feels good. It fits in the hand nicely. It was not very big, but just felt this impulse to put it to my head and want to pull the trigger. Just no rationale to it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a one-off. Okay, that's a theme. So.
But when did you first hear the devil in your head?
Baptist church.
Interesting.
Baptist church.
Huh.
Because it was fire and brimstone all the time. We started the Southern Baptist Church. He's a great preacher, and he's a good man. He'd ultimately asked me to leave the church, but he was a good man, and he was a good pastor. He was doing the best he could, I think.
So you got the devil out of your.
I once asked the president,
Unmute. We're unmuted.
I can hear you.
All right. So let's stop there. Since there's a couple, make sure I can be heard.
I can hear you.
Couple possible frame breaking things in that, depending
What do you mean?
on your theology.
What do you mean by
Because-
frame breaking?
Well,
You help me
for me personally, there is hold on a second. For me, I'd always approach that experience as a healing, not as a deliverance.
Oh, at Vineyard.
At Vineyard.
Okay.
So that's my frame break, right? That was kind of a challenge when Paul calls it an exorcism. He doesn't say it there, but he was very interested. Is when did you start hearing? He asked twice, right? When did you start hearing from the devil? And then in the headline, he describes it as a vineyard exorcism. Okay, so for me that was a bit of a challenge today. And then, and like I said, I'd always seen it as just a healing. But then also for others from the outside, the idea that you might get what you call a critter, Ron, from church, from a Baptist church.
There's critters all over.
That's frame breaking for people too.
Oh,
see what I'm saying? It breaks their theology. When I say frame breaking, it kind of like it violates a precept that's part of their operating system as a Christian or a person of faith. Just as say accepting Jesus' resurrection might be frame breaking for a practicing Muslim. it suddenly my whole worldview is kind of like kind of rattled at least.
Mhm.
And so we got a couple things floating around there. But since I think you are more experienced in these things than I am.
Can we start with the first word, exorcism
Absolutely.
and healing? They're actually interchangeable. They're not either or. They're actually dude, the word exorcism got slimed back with The Exorcist, the movie. And so from what I've learned, Father Vincent Lampert lives in the Brookville area of Indiana. He's got a 5-part series on not how to do an exorcism, but what it is, what it isn't, why you need it, and what the end game is. And the end game of exorcism is just bringing a child of God back into proper relationship with God. It is healing. It's not just casting out a demon. It's actually restoring them to a proper, just getting them back into the gym and working out properly and just living a right life. So it's like when you have darkness, you don't cast out darkness. You simply turn on the light. With what you encountered and me is, we had something leave, but more so we had something come in. And by having it come in, Jesus, that's the healing. So yes, there's something going out, but it's almost like, well, you got a cup with slime in it. You just put it underneath the faucet. So you're jettisoning junk out, but you're actually filling it up. You're filling your heart up with him, thereby jettisoning it out.
Interesting.
So
This is something. It's funny because this is a story that I've not really thought much about. Well, I've thought about it. I thought about it, but not talked out loud about it very much at all, except for really in this last year in my own bio. I did the little autobiography testimony video I made.
Yeah.
I talked about it then, and I talked about it to PVK here. But it's not been a story I've thought a lot about until this year. And because it's so long ago too. I mean, it's, we're talking over 30 years when that happened. And so, but like I said, my whole view was that I'd had very strict categories. And then you're saying, well, maybe it's all one of a piece. Is that what you're saying, Ron?
Yeah, I think yes, I think so. And because I hope that I think exorcism, it is the right word, but if you say inner healing, people won't run away from it and they'll welcome it. If you say exorcism, you stigmatize them.
Right.
You cause them to run away and go, when you said I have to say I have mental illness back in the day was shameful.
Right.
To say you need an exorcism, they're like,
freak people out.
They'll be like, hell no, I ain't doing that, because the first thing you do is hear whatever her name is.
You go right to the movies. Yeah, you do. You go right to the movies.
And
yeah.
So real exorcism is healing. You might have to cast out a critter all right, no, I'm not going to go down that road. Most of it's healing. It's simply, by the way, if you want to know what the most important weapon of exorcism is, this is from the Catholic priest, confession.
Oh.
Good for you. Then secondly, you mentioned you were surprised that people at a Baptist church could have a demon.
I know that would bother a lot of people. Certainly Baptists might upset them. That the idea that you go get you could catch something at a Baptist church, right?
Listen, you can catch a lot of things all over the place, but all denominations have critters. And what I mean is, Jesus, when someone, man or woman of God, is really walking with God, the first place they'll show up and manifest is church. And that's biblical.
Yeah. I
Um,
agree.
So, and if you think of
We
it,
just have such in our tradition, the way I was raised, I guess the Protestantism in which I was raised, it was all very clean cut, right? And I've never shaken it. I mean, I still want to see things in these very clear, clean cut. Well, it's like one of he's kind of a horrible man, but he's a famous Reformed pastor, John MacArthur. Has written all these books and everything else. Had a radio show for years. He's got to be older than the hills at this point.
right.
But one of his lines was God will only manifest His Spirit on where in churches or in churches or with preachers who have the right theology. If you have bad theology,
Dude, I knew a girl.
Isn't that crazy?
She used to get high all the time. She was bat crap crazy, and she actually prayed once, and a dude with a hole in his heart got healed. I mean, I think I'm not advocating that you're high or crazy, but with that out the way, dude, he will use a hot mess.
Well, we've talked about Lonnie Frisbee before, right?
Yeah,
same.
Right.
I mean, I think my mind is stretching. It's just not done stretching.
Right. I think if you think of it this way, at least I do, churches are hospitals at their best. In the hospital, you'll have doctors and you'll have patients. And so, so if you have someone.
And doctors can become patients.
And some doctors aren't really doctors. They're just patients and everyone should run. But all kidding aside is, if you think of a church, a good church is going to have a mixed bag. Mm-hmm. And that when I went to church, I was high and hungover, and they knew it, and they didn't mind.
Right.
So, and then there's what maybe the word framing comes to mind when you say exorcism and you can't have a demon in church. Are those frames people operate through? Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to TLC it here. So instead of me trying to do that, I'll be like, those are just the way people have been raised. It's just the way, it's not biblical. And I think I like Jonathan Pageau, his idea of patterns. Mm-hmm. If we go, what do the scriptures show? Dude, that to me is so helpful. And I hope for everyone else, like you go to church, someday you're going to be patient. Someday you're going to be a doctor, maybe in both in the same day.
Right.
So, and then who can be used? Everyone. If you this is the funniest part. One of the best miracles I got to be part of that I saw God heal someone. I was at a prayer meeting and this little girl walked up to me. She goes, "You can't be in this section. This is for this kind of people, and you're not this kind of people, and you got to go." And I'm like, and I'm like, and I go, fine, no, I didn't sit like this, but in my mind, I'm like, fine, I'm out of here. And it's like, I go to the other part, and I was really polite to her, and I'm like, I just ate the beating. And I'm like,
she was a young woman, not a little girl. You made it sound like she was a little
girl. A young. She was a 20-year-old college student who
a young person.
This is a large facility. There was like maybe several hundred people, and there was an intercessor program going on. And when someone's in charge, most people are pretty chill, but sometimes you'll get someone who likes to be in charge. She was in charge. And I'm like, fine. And I really did forgive her. And now this is the funny part. So a girl with a boot walks in, a soft cast,
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she comes in, I'm like, and this is not scriptural, but I'm giving the honest truth. I said, God, I was a good boy. You owe me one. I'm not kidding you. I'm like, but it wasn't like, it was just like, all right, listen, I was just a good boy. So I'm going to believe I'm in your good graces. I'm going to pray for her. So, I did a simple prayer in the name of Jesus, be healed. And, and what freaked me out, she started taking off the boot, like she's peeling off Velcro. I'm like, hey, don't do that.
I didn't mean it.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you doing? I did, like she takes off. I hear this Velcro coming off. She gets up. And
At which point your heart stops.
Oh no, I'm like, oh dude, I'm like, she's just going. She gets up and she's like testing it, and she doesn't wince, and she just kind of like gets up and bounces, and then she looks around, and then she starts bouncing. And then all her friends look, and they're like freaking out, and they're like swarming her, and they're start crying. I'm like, I'm out of here. This is dangerous, because I'm like, this is God, and I'm cool. Bye. And that was one of the funnest healings I got to be part of. It was, and so for a moment, I was a patient. I had an attitude. And then I repented, and I think I had a moment of faith, because I knew I really did repent. Not that I was St. John or anything. It was just, all right, God, you're God. I'm going to give this a whirl. And he's like, okay, kid, swing the bat. Wham. Oh, I did the stuff, and then whammo. And it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so much fun. And healings and inner healings emotionally and physically, they don't fit a regiment strict pattern, but they can be done by all of us at any given time in a variety of conditions. And I think I got that from Wimber and everyone else.
Yeah,
and
he broke a lot of rules too, because he took a lot of heat for his view that Christians could require deliverance.
Yeah.
If you may not you did you show up after he died?
Yeah, I think I was there.
Close.
I was November of 1999, second week.
Okay, yeah, so he had passed by then.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the 80s he was getting all kinds of hell from the theologically correct.
Yeah.
For
oh, by the way, I would like to. Oh no. Okay, so what else were we talking about? So it's like exorcism, deliverance, inner healing. So we covered that. There can be people in church that can have demons. Here's the thing, demons, like when you talked about as a child, when you had the first suicidal ideation, I think if people would be taught, how do I put this? You just tell people that from the pulpit. I kind of hate fire and brimstone. It has its place, but it's more of a warning. Like if you're driving, driver's ed, you say, hey, there's a cliff over there. Please stay away from the cliff. Mm-hmm. What I think they should teach, around these parts, we try to teach everybody, one, you're loved by God. Mm-hmm. Two, not every thought you have is your own. Sometimes, and even if they are, and they don't match up with the line up with the Word of God, tell it no, just agree with it. and then substitute in something positive that gets you through the night, or not just through the night, that really eradicates that negative thought and puts in place a positive one. Let's say for a child that has a suicidal ideation, no. Now, oh, by the way, I always say, if you need to go to a doctor and get checked, by all means, and if you need meds, fine, I'm cool with that. But I believe that just teaching people how to take captive their own thoughts, like in Buddhism, like, yes, you can understand letting thoughts come and go. But for me, in a
Ron?
Christian perspective, when it's
Real quick,
Yes.
you might want to turn off your video. You're roboting, and I'm wondering if you turn on. I hate to
Oh.
lose your face. You've got this
oh,
beautiful face, but I want to be able to hear you too. So we may have
oh,
to just
I'm
go.
roboting. Okay,
Yeah, we might just need to stick with audio only.
no,
and
that's
see how your
fine.
see how your connection goes. All right,
All right,
now
how
I hear
does-
you crystal clear.
Okay, so well, anyhow, instead of me talking, what do you think? So where was I at? Where did I get lost? And what are you thinking? And yeah,
Well,
Cassandra said
I'm
it's a
also,
perfect
you're
example.
talking. I think you're saying some good, helpful things. I'm looking at the chat. They're saying some good, helpful things.
Okay.
It's a quote from John Piper, from Christopher. Don't listen to yourself. Preach to yourself. That's
Oh, yeah,
probably not
yeah.
bad advice.
I do like that.
But there were times. See, I did all. I mean, at one level, you know, it's a. When it came to trying to say this in the right way. My whole history with mental health and faith, but just whatever you want to call this happening between my ears, right?
Mm.
We call them thoughts, emotions, feelings, all this stuff, right? My whole life is a series of deliverances, though. I've never thought my way out of a box. No amount of telling myself something ever convinced me or ever fixed me. It's always been some intervention. Would be
And
the
that
best,
was also
my
the
best
same.
way, my best word I have for it would be an intervention of some kind.
Yeah.
From
Yes.
at a spiritual level.
Yeah.
And it's not always been
No.
strictly Christian, right? Because a big part of it happened
Right.
during various processes with yoga and Buddhism, right? So it's,
Right.
I mean, Christ has always been kind of the hub of the wheel, but there have been spokes. So, and this is also the difference between you and I and our testimonies is, you know, you very much, I think, describe your experience as being saved out of or saved from
Right.
a worldview and a lifestyle and all that. Whereas for me, it was very much saved through.
Mm-hmm. I've been thinking about that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I had not had a negative experience, I would have stayed, and I would have gone down the rabbit hole all the way, and that could have wound up really bad. Whereas with you, it's hilarious. And I was thinking about this. You were told to go home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know there
Probably
happened?
by the only,
Uh-huh.
even though I think highly of a lot of the Tibetan lamas,
Yeah.
he's probably one of a kind. There's only a couple others that might say something like that. There's maybe 3 guys in the world that would say something like that.
Right.
The rest of them would say, stick with me and learn.
Right. Did you know that happened? There's a fellow named Martin Shaw who, okay, now he was following, he had a brief contact with a fellow named Nicholas, a Native American fellow, shaman, Nicholas Black Elk, who was the grandson of Also Nicholas Black Elk, but he was the real deal Plains Indian shaman.
Mhm.
So Martin Shaw has a contact with Nicholas Black Elks back in 70s or 80s, whatever. And pretty much Nicholas Black Elk says, don't give up on the long-haired hippie Jesus. And so both of you, I'll be honest. So here, I have been processing, and I find it, I now have two absolute testimonies where God used something that I wouldn't have thought of. You know, as much as you might be getting stretched, like I don't deny testimonies. They happened. It's not a theological question. It's a fact. This happened. And so now I process it as well. And it does crack me up.
Yeah, it's weird. Well, let's see. This is, I guess, is the theme for the show today, right? It's to the degree that this is a show. Theme for the discussion is that we're stretching or breaking frames or expanding our
Yeah. Breaking
views.
frames.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, enough about me. Where are you at? What's anything? What? Anything you want to talk about?
Well, let me know if I start roboting, or should I just turn off my camera now?
Well, right now you're good. So
Okay.
let's go for
If
it.
I robot, we need to that's the sign language for R. Or just robot. But
Okay.
you talk about breaking frames, and I got a dream that I had that actually changed my life for the better. What are you thinking? Yeah.
Well, you every time you move, if you cannot move and talk, it seems like it's okay.
Yes.
When you
Oh, okay.
so if you can
None
be
of
very,
that.
very still and talk, exactly, it freaks it out. So I think we can
Okay.
have video.
So if I talk like this, dude, I was a Buddhist for 20 years. I sit still and do nothing. I can do that.
All right, give it a shot.
Okay. So
Let's see, Mandy just said, I just wrote about my frame breaking experience. Woo timing. Mandy, come on. The link is in the chat.
Yeah. Come
So
on
anyways,
down, Mandy.
Exactly.
I
Come
would-
on down. All right, talk to me.
you know,
What's-
it's in-
okay.
Okay. Several years ago, going through and by the way, this is a rabbit trail. I would love to hear some stories PBK's got. I think he's holding back a lot of Woo stories because he was around. He said he made a comment that really got my interest, and I think I understand now. He goes, I think he lived in Haiti for a while, or the Dominican. Okay, Haiti.
Yeah, he
goes,
was on. Yeah, he did both. It sounds like he worked with both Haitians and Dominicans. Yeah.
He said that the Haitians said you can't do real voodoo until you have become a Christian.
Say that one more time.
I believe Paul said once in Haiti, those that practice voodoo said you really can't do voodoo until you've become a Christian. And I think I figured it out, and I really don't even want to share it too much. But it's
What
like,
do you think you figured out? I'm curious.
Well,
because I'm not
it's-
sure how to interpret that.
well, all right. You got to figure
Is
out
it like
is
that
this
Simon the magician who tried to buy the gifts of the Spirit from Paul, that type of thing? In Acts.
I think this is a dark road, and I don't know if I feel like I'm
If
talking.
you don't want to go there, go there. Follow your follow your instincts.
Because for me, what this is all about is understanding and good. And what I'm going down is, I was talking about Paul. I would like to know, it seems like he's very familiar with what we're talking about.
Mhm.
And I wonder what has occurred in his life. And I just wonder how much he knows that he's not sharing. And I don't mean that he's holding back, but there's certain people that I wouldn't mind listening to a lot. He's one of them because he's been there. It's like, what did you see? What have you learned? What? Because the reason I want to learn is because it's applicable in my life now and for the people around me. Because a lot of people around me are just, they're a mess. You know, I was a mess. And it's like, you want to know how, you had better know how to operate in the gifts of the Spirit or flow with the Spirit, however you want to put it. If your friends are on drugs, if they're depressed, if they're whatever, it's because because they need deliverance, or healing, however you want to put it. It's part of the toolbox, I think, is necessary. That was necessary in my life. Otherwise, I would be a mess. It was power that got me out. It wasn't just the word. So I'm being cautious because what were we talking about before? When
well, the thing that I'm wondering is, and maybe this is, see, I'm still grappling. I came into the corner very much with a T. Groggian attitude towards this business of demons. I'd cringe every time Peugeot would call somebody demonic or call something demonic, and I had you might call a medicalized view on these things, a psychologized view of these things. And I suppose the corner has worn me down and had its way with me, colonizing my mind, my views, and having somebody like PVK reflect your story back to you. Literally on a screen. It's like you tell it, but then it's reframed, right? It's literally reframed on screen in a and with a tag and a description and letters, and that makes you rethink and re-experience your own story in a new way. And it's like, okay, well, let's play, right? We'll play with the ideas. I can play with the ideas without necessarily buying into one thing or another. Because like talking to Nathan, whose viewpoint is very much more modern and philosophically driven, and he's influenced by Wittgenstein, so the definitions matter. And if you can't properly define something, is it really a useful term at all? If you do find a set of words that may not be useful in this setting, they may be useful in another. So that's the whole thing of language games and so on and so forth. But is this more than a language game? I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the greatest miracle I ever got was a new heart. Now, here's the thing. If you don't believe in demons, they're like, great, love it. Thanks for your help. Just because you don't believe in them or understand them doesn't mean they aren't real and they're not out to get you.
Right.
And
whatever they are.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Jesus said they're just demons. They're the enemy. What I've seen in the corner that I'm having a better understanding is it's atheist guys who hear Peterson, who get they're able to process their pain, and then it leads them down the road to a contact point because of the scriptures that Peterson uses. It gives them a place to, not just to place their pain, but to define it. And these guys I've talked with too, and they had suicidal ideation. They were atheists, and they were hollow and miserable. And they went through the Peterson, I forget what it is, series that talks about, I think, Genesis and maps a meaning.
Mhm.
And what happens is that a lot of the people I meet, incredibly brilliant, and God's using philosophy to draw them.
Mhm.
I really didn't expect it, but I've heard, and I'll never repeat anything, but the way I hear it is they would wrestle with these philosophies and then wrestle in their heart and then get the word going in them. And somehow, because I haven't listened to Peterson, he would help them feel better by, and then it's, I think the word is Deus ex machina or machina or something. That's God in a box, and then whammo. Then we go Wimber. You start, whether you know it or not, whether they know it or not. As much as there are demons and they will hurt you, there's a God who will help you. If you start nosing around in the territory of a God who will help you and loves you, even though you don't know he exists, he doesn't care. You're nosing around in his territory, he'll start to say hello, whether you believe in him or not. And those are actually some of the more fun stories where they don't believe and then he shows up.
Right.
Just because they're toying around with his word.
Right. Well,
And
and
then-
that's a theme in Christians. But the charismatics and Pentecostals have were built on churches and ministries that had their worldviews overthrown, right, by direct interventions of the Holy Spirit, right? How many charismatics that were once a Presbyterian or once a this or a once a that, and now they're like, well, now I'm Pentecost. They blow up their career like they're ministers, right? It's a nice, quiet church, and then they blow up their career because they can't stop themselves from whatever this is that happens to them.
Right.
Just Christopher is clarifying for us. Deus ex machina is God in or out of the machine.
Okay.
As I understand it in literature, it's the idea of God intervening at the end and kind of cutting everybody down, getting them to size, intervening in the story somehow. But it's been a very long time since I've written an essay on anything about fiction or myth. So, yeah, I'm not qualified to talk about Deus ex machina. So somebody else come in and tell me all about it.
Yeah.
But
So we're going with breaking
intervening.
frames.
God intervening. That's the thing that we're really talking about, isn't it?
Yeah.
In ways that alter our. Yes, we're now going down a rabbit hole. But it's a feature of pagan theater.
Oh, maybe. Hey, listen. Sometimes the pagans get it right.
I'm definitely.
Can I break your frame?
Yeah, break.
Okay,
away.
there is a scripture backs up. Sometimes frame breaking is good, or holy. Oh my gosh.
We're blessed. Welcome. Was this by accident, Grim? You're looking befuddled and besmirched. Are you there?
Woo!
Woo! Welcome to the woo. Oh, he's trolling
wooing.
us. That's unfair.
Wow, that was good.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You should at least come here and add an extra syllable.
Woe unto you. So,
Okay.
um, in the book of Romans, I think now, yeah, Paul. All right. I might not be Romans, but I'll throw it out there. He says, "Did not your own poets say that you are gods?" And I should look it up. So
You're
Paul,
you're talking about Jesus?
no, Paul, the apostle,
Okay. Well,
he
Jesus
was,
quotes the Psalm and says, you know,
yeah,
ask that same question.
yeah. But and for people out there, I could look it up, but I don't want to mess up the computer. Maybe well, I know he, in the Mars Hills, he says, Mars Hill, he goes, I am now going to speak about the unknown God. I'm now going to declare to you.
yes. Right.
So that's a little bit of a frame. I'm thinking that's a little frame breaker, but there's another part, maybe in the same. Anyhow, he goes, uh, don't your, I think he says the word poets, even say that you are gods, because he's talking about how we are children of God. And that,
Okay.
and for a Pharisee to be saying, quoting pagan poetry or just any kind of pagan literature, I think that was verboten. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it was or wasn't.
Mm,
He wouldn't have. It it seems like it would be. They were Hellenized Jews, and some were rabbis, but
mm,
I don't know to what degree Paul was or wasn't. He's described himself as a Pharisee of the Pharisees. I mean, he
yeah.
was.
Right. Man,
Um, yeah, go ahead.
well, all right. Then we could just go uh, Peter on the rooftop for 200 when he has the vision. The white sheet comes down with all kinds of weird critters.
Mm-hmm.
God goes, rise, Peter, slay and eat. And he goes like, no, God, I can't do that. I've been a good boy ever since. And God's like, Pete, what I've made clean, don't call unclean.
Right. That's Acts chapter 10.
Okay. So,
Very important.
as much as there is frame breaking for me, what I realize, it's also moments of power. I don't think it's either or. I think we understand we might gather the information in our brain, but we understand in our heart, at least for me. Does this make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's by the Spirit that I say Jesus is Lord. I mean, anyone can say it, but actually for me to believe it and want it, that's nothing but his Spirit in my heart. And would that is that woo? And if so, I kind of feel sorry for people who think it is. Because
Just so Sandy gave us the actual verse that I think you're quoting about Paul on Mars Hill.
Okay.
Chapter 17, verse 28. It's in the middle of his sermon, and he says, "For in him we live and move and exist." This is NASB.
Oh, yeah.
As even some of your own poets have said, for we also are his descendants. Therefore, and then he continues, therefore, since we are the descendants of God, we ought not to think that the divine nature is like gold or silver or stone, an image formed by human skill and thought, etc. So yeah, it's there. It's interesting. The same theme is also in Hebrew literature, just said from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I do not know what poet Paul is quoting, though. That'd be an interesting little study
Right.
to figure out who Paul is quoting. I've never studied this verse in any depth before, so it'd be something worth pursuing.
I need to correct myself. I felt okay.
Sandy's ahead of us. Wikipedia says, quoting Epimenides and Aratus or Cleanthes. So
Oh,
all of which I need to dig into because I'm way out of my depth on that subject.
okay.
So yeah, interesting.
You know, okay.
One thing, go back up really quick. Christopher said, I think it was Christopher. Let's see. Yeah. Frame breaking can be good, but you need replacement framing to go with it.
Right.
Think about that. I tend to agree, and I think it kind of happens. Do I adopt it, or does it just happen to me? My experience, again, it seems to always happen to me.
What do you mean? Can you help me understand? Can we start with the question and then roll that out again? Because I like it, but I just want to understand it better.
Frame breaking can be good, but you need replacement framing to go with it. It's more of a statement than a question.
Right.
What do you think of that?
All right. So I'm blowing my nose, so that's why I'm off camera. So here we go. And we're back. So it reminds me of when Jesus talks about casting out a demon from someone. He goes, it will return, and with 7 others worse than itself. So frame breaking,
the house clean and swept. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, let's say breaking a frame is having a false paradigm that you've been yoked by, broken. Whether through prayer or reading scripture or whatever, something good happens. It's going to come back or try to. And so by having replacement framing is, for me, maybe it's the
you don't want the house vacant,
right?
What you're saying.
And totally. And it would have to, yes, I can leave it at that instead of trying to analyze it out. But yeah, that's exactly it.
Interesting.
You break a frame, you better have something better to replace it. Yeah, boundaries are still important. Absolutely, yeah.
So Mandy's got something for us. She says there's some synchronicity here in her life with this subject that she wrote. Then, in coming to see the many ways I fall short, my vision of the one who never fails was broadened beyond what my former frame could have held. It was shattered. I was shattered, but it was beautiful.
Wow, that's poetry right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. Part of the reason I like talking with you in this environment is I've been helped by the corner. All right. I'm gonna go straight woo right now. For
Please,
the past,
this is the house of woo.
Yeah,
if you're gonna woo, this is the place to do it.
This is all right, belly up to the bar. So for 10 years, I had an intense ringing in the ears called tinnitus, caused by 2 cavities that didn't hurt, poisoned my bloodstream. They eventually came out because they did hurt, but it left me with permanent tinnitus, painful. Now, what happened in conjunction with this is a spirit piggybacked onto that infirmity, onto that sickness. And the way I know it is sometimes it'll respond to prayer. It comes back. And basically, angry people and situations I'd always avoid. I tried to, and it would tame it down a lot. And over time, I learned, it was almost like a Buddhist thing. It was like, watch where I'm at. But I felt like a blind man in a room full of sharp objects. At the wrong moment, wrong time, someone would say something or do something, or life would happen, and it would trigger it, and it would come back like fire and painful.
Yeah.
So then I stumble into TLC, start watching Luke Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke will take a question and he will turn it inside out, upside down, sideways, like it's like a Rubik's Cube. And yeah, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? But I liked it, and then I was spiritually, I felt this thing coming on. Like it was at the point now where over the years I can feel it, and I could feel I could feel it coming. I'm like, all right, here we go. And then in my head, now this might have been God. I imagined Luke Thompson looking. Well, I'm like, what would Luke Thompson do? And I was like, well, let's look at the problem differently. And I always thought it was a spirit coming at me. And so I had to, and then I had a thought, what if it's not a spirit coming at me? What if it's something I'm calling? In some way I am agreeing with. And the moment I thought that, I felt it release. I was like, uh-oh, something just happened. We just had a victory. And it was like, this is the joke that sums this thing up. You know the comic strip, The Far Side?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In this picture, there's this heavy-set kid with a bunch of books pushing on this door with all his might. And on the door, it says, School of the Gifted. On the bottom, it says, pull. And I felt like that kid for years pushing on the door, trying to get free, when it was pull. It was not something attacking me. It was something I was attracting. And the moment I figured that out for myself, now when it shows up, I'm like, oh, okay, where are we at? What was that thought? I'll just put it in reverse and I will trail it back and I'll realize where I was wrong. And for me, it's when I improperly try to defend myself. It's coming down to, I feel like Christ, it sounds so weird to say, he's showing me to stop defending myself. It'll be all right. Because these are not life-threatening situations at all. Probably it's more pride situations. Let it go. Stop it. And it's been nothing but good since then. William says self-triggered. Well, okay, that's one word for it. However, the weird thing, the reason I do think it is a spirit is sometimes if I go around past someone who's angry, I'll pick up on it. It's like distance. And I'm like, okay, that's not my junk. Because it's at church once. One of my friends walked by me. I'm like, are you angry? She goes, yeah. I'm like, in my mind, I want to go cut it out. But it's not so much on my worst own. I feel a lot, and being understanding who I am and how I operate helps me navigate the world, people, and myself and God better. And that's the woo that I can live with.
I'm wondering, is there a way? How do you participate? Okay, you found you found your way into this frame. We'll just call this
Okay.
what we're talking about, a frame among other frames. This is the frame for seeing and living and operating within the world, right? This is a um, uh, a way of looking at our experiences in life and interpreting them. You found what? How did? Let me back up to your own testimony. You come out of the Buddhist thing. You meet Jesus. You said you're high on drugs and your brain was fried, and you got healed.
Yeah.
Did you
By
just
Jesus
have your
sovereignly.
by Jesus sovereignly?
Yeah, that was, yes.
Did you? How did you replace your old worldview with the one you have today? Was it something you developed over time, or was it just uh,
It was a
it was like an
detonation.
upload or
It
update?
was, I was Saul of Tarshish when I
Hmm.
was breathing threats against anything Christian.
Right.
And when I met him, he came into my heart and it was like a detonation. So the paradigm shift, the frame breaking and mending, making was him exclusively. There was no education. The education came afterwards to validate and verify and help me understand what had happened.
Mm.
And it's not to say that you have to have these encounters like this. It can be slow, it can be gradual, it can be educational. It's that it can happen. It can have either or. Both are fine. Mine happened to be detonation and complete reconstruction in a moment.
Mandy's on fire tonight. Interesting how we can all find ourselves in the story. I was Saul. I was Peter.
Hmm.
Endless variations, but patterns.
Yeah, yeah,
And then Christopher says
yeah.
there are patterns and we can navigate them. Navigating
Yeah.
patterns. Little shout out to Mark Lefebvre. I'm not sure how well we navigate. Oh, I do not. I am so.
Oh,
I
wait a
was in
second.
my
You're not.
head. Oh, go ahead.
No, wait. You said you don't know how to. You navigate patterns great because you should be dead or under a bridge.
Well, but did I? I don't.
And it's a con. You know
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
know. I don't. I just don't. I don't.
You-
I don't. If you think of a navigator, he's the guy you look to kind of steer your ship, right?
Yeah.
I don't think of myself as a navigator. I don't think
How
of
about
myself.
what do
Go
you
ahead.
think of yourself? Well, none of us are navigators. He is, but we are participants. We are the dance partner. We follow. He leads. We are. If we're trees or plants, he's the lattice.
Right. Yeah. Well, or
It,
or yeah. There's lots of good metaphors. Let's see. Chris Howard has shown up. Isn't that isn't that the way it works for any experience? You get smacked in the face, and then you try to explain it. Try. Yes, baby. What do you think? you're not sure too. How would you
Well,
respond to that?
here's some. Isn't that the way it works for any experience?
Oh, here, I'll turn it back on.
You get
Sorry.
smacked in. No, that's maybe. Well,
In
well,
some cases,
no, actually,
let's say, I think we can easily say some cases, yes, of course, right?
but
I would
here's the
say
thing: when
yes,
a lot
but
of
not always.
and it's not always. I think what I've seen with the kids that I've been able to talk with, I would give them a Bible, and they would be hard atheist kids. Just they don't care about nothing. I mean, they're not. I had one kid read the Bible, and because of it, God spoke to him because he read it. The Spirit of God bears witness with the Word. Not that he can't use a variety of other things, but so it wasn't experience first. It was, maybe he had an experience when he read the Word, and there was also someone and in the corner, they said that they were an atheist until they read a gospel passage about Legion getting freed. And for some reason, they went from atheist to believer because it just affected them.
What happens with us? Yeah, it came up in the discussion with Nathan. It's just, for me, it's like we often we find God or have our frames broken when we're at our limits. These things always happen when we're at our limits.
Yeah.
Whoever wins, who wins $1 million and sees God? You're always the widow. It's always the widow who's down to her last bit of flour, her last bit of oil, and
Right.
remember the story with Elijah, and I'm going to make cakes tonight, and then we're going to die because that's all I've got.
Right. Yeah.
And Elijah says,
Right.
no, go ahead and make me some, and then make some for you and your son. And then that's for her. Then it stretches until the drought is over, right? That's how the story goes. And I know, an atheist or agnostic, non-religious person is going to look at the story and just say it's a story, it's a fairy tale. Fine, It's fine. But in our real lives, so to speak, in the lives that we live in our actual bodies, it still seems to work something like that, right? We only have breakthroughs when we're stretched. When we're fat and happy. I've never been fat and happy and had a breakthrough in my fat and happiness. It's always in my despair.
Okay.
Without resources.
Right. I will say I know of a few people that were raised in good households. First off, yes, most of the time it's not.
But
when
even
you're
people
okay.
with good upbringings and wealth find themselves without resources. It's just a different struggle, right?
That's yes.
Blessed are the poor in spirit. It's
right. That's it. That's when maybe that's it. When you feel your poverty of spirit.
Yes. Yeah. And you've got to see it. I mean, that's the thing is the curse, so to speak, is on those who are poor but think they're rich.
Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah,
and that's in the Jesus, the Christ letters to the seven churches, right? In Revelation, he's telling him one of them is you're poor but you think you're rich is one of that's the Laodiceans. Laodiceans, I think.
Laodicean for 200. Yeah.
Mandy again. Good job. Yes. Yeah, that's what And I think here's the question for you, probably as we kind of wind it down. Because at our pace,
Okay.
we can stretch, we can take a topic and run for a half hour with it. So
I know,
we'll,
I know.
put a start to put
Yeah.
a bow on it.
Right.
Good night, Mandy. Blessings to
night.
you and your children, your husband, and all the good stuff you guys have over there. Someday you'll get to join us. This is a Wimberism. You can't give what you don't have.
Okay.
All right. And now you and
I would-
I kind of have this background where I'm going to buy for the time being. I'm going to buy into Paul's frame, describing my experience as an exorcism, as a. If we
Yeah.
don't like that word, we'll say deliverance,
Yeah,
right? Or
right.
something like that.
Yeah.
Well, having received it, that's now something I can turn around and possibly give. Just
Yes.
as you've received
Mm-hmm.
similar remarkable charismatic deliverances,
Yeah.
and you've turned around and you're far more practiced in actual church ministry than I am. I'm still trying to catch up.
Just swing the bat and just do the stuff, Mark.
Right, do the stuff. So we do the stuff. We're going to. What's the transition? Is it just you make yourself available for anybody? Does the House of Woo become a place where we just put up a tent and say, this is where, if you just knock, if you need help,
Mhm.
here's Ron's email, here's Mark's email.
Yeah.
Come and bring your own story. Come and just, because this isn't going to work if it's just the two of us constantly back
Right.
and forth. We can do this for a little while, but at
Yeah.
some point, folks will need to come out of the chat and out of the lurk and occasionally hop on. Or, like I said, we can record testimonies, or people can come on and I say there's no reason people can't. I make fun of it sometimes when I imitate TV preachers or something, but there is no reason. No, there are no limitations to
Okay.
what God can do. God does not care about our mediums.
Right. Correct.
That is mediums of communication. He doesn't. He'll transcend those. No
Right.
problem. Because this is the House of Woo. We believe in God, and we believe in God, a God that intervenes.
Let me,
at
if I
will.
may,
Yes,
then I
pick
will.
up on it.
I will address the TV preacher issue first.
Yeah.
Abuse of power or an ability does not negate that power or ability. It sullies it. It tarnishes it. And I'll give you that. But the fact of the matter is, if you can read a book and it can heal you because it's his words, how much more so, or not so much how much, okay, dude, it can happen here now. And my job, as best I can see it, is to give people the basic understanding of what changed my life and yours, and let them run with it. Make it simple, make it unmysterious, make it unscary, unwoo. My job is to unwoo the woo and let you know, if you want to know what real woo is, it's love. That's all. It's real, dynamic, powerful love. It can come.
Yeah, we're not doing anything magical here. We have no incantations, right?
And when, here's the thing, I'll not push back, but I'll disagree with, and you might like this. You can give something you don't have. The best example of that is William Seymour, turn of the century, Azusa Street. He simply preached about the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit fell. However, I think I know why. This comes from the Catholics. And there was, at the end of the 1800s, a little Catholic nun who had she was a powerhouse. I don't have her name, but she told the Pope we should pray for the Holy Spirit to fall. The Pope goes, I agree with you. The Pope declares the 20th century, he says, everybody start praying for the Holy Spirit. Everything I'm getting is from Dr. Mary Healy. She works with Randy Clark, and she's on the committee that advises the Pope. So these aren't just my words. She goes, the Holy Spirit did fall, but he didn't fall in the Catholic Church. And I'm not hacking the Catholics, but she's up there in the Catholic world. She goes, we were too proud. We were the older brother in the parables. It fell on the younger brother. That's the Protestants, and they took it and ran with it. So Seymour simply asked for something he did not have, but it was a gift and an entitlement as a child of God. So for anybody out there who happens to watch you like, well, I want this, fine, it's yours. Ask. If you don't have, ask, knock, seek. Don't give up until you get it. If it was, and it's not any more complicated for all of it. You want to heal? Put your hands on someone, say, in the name of Jesus, be healed. For you, the thing is you could actually just talk to people, and what they did for you I don't want to get in. I think all right, for me, I just do for others what has been done for me. I'm just copying it and doing it. And you're going to have failures. That's fine. And you're going to epically fail. You're going to fail a lot. And guess what? That's when you're going to grow the most. Because one, you're not to quit. And then the funny thing is, then what? Right when you think you're about to hang it up and quit, that's when you'll hit the home run. That's when the boot comes off the kid in the prayer room. It's you don't quit. You allow yourself to be wrong. Because when we pray, at worst, we're showing kindness and care.
Right.
When you're doing it with the right heart. And then I have a lot more to say about this, but we can give what we don't have. And if you don't have it, you can ask. Your story, I want to hear more about, because I realize I talked a lot, but yours is actually, dude, yours is as powerful as mine, if not more so. You got a healing on the inside where nobody can fix that except God.
Mm-hmm.
That's a miracle. You know, like, and I'm not making fun of it. Dude, you are a modern day example of Legion. Who the guy got set free of Legion, was sitting down in his right mind, and it said specifically in his right mind, and he goes, Jesus, can I follow you? And Jesus goes, no. Go home, tell him what I did for you. That's the only time that Jesus ever said no.
Is it?
Well, yeah, I think that's the only time he ever said no. He's like, no, go home. Which now the exorcists, they theorize the reason Jesus told him to go home is to be with his family, to reconcile, to heal, to make him, like it's the restoration of family. That's what I think this is all about, especially inner healing, exorcism, however you want to put it. Mm-hmm. That's why I get pretty wound up.
No, I'm happy you are. No, it's fine. Get it all out because you're being useful. If you got more.
No, and I'm giving you my opinion about what happened to you, and so I want to be careful. So what do you think?
I'm still playing with it in my mind. It's like I said, I've lived with it for decades.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like I said, framing it from a different perspective, approaching it from a different perspective. Like I said, it was remarkable, and I took it as a healing. I never played with it as anything else.
Uh,
But yeah, well, it is interesting though. I've been in my head really since since yesterday. You know, it was way deep in my head last night. Before this video dropped, I mean, this clip dropped and from PVK, and it was very anxious that after I got some feedback from the live stream I did with Nathan, and so I was way in my head over that, and kind of unsure of myself. That was just unsure of myself, period. And one of the things I've noticed is that there is, and I'm just going to call it what I'm going to call it in wooey terms, and then we'll see if there's put any meat to the bones. But there's something about doing there's so much content online. It's like every time I post, there's a little spiritual pushback.
Yeah.
It's like spiritual. We'll call it spiritual warfare. This is a placeholder, right? And then, like I said, undefined terminology makes all the philosophers uncomfortable.
You know what?
We'll just call it spiritual warfare, and then like I said, we'll put meat to the bones and try to make sense of it as we talk.
Okay,
so I get a feeling that every time I do something online, I'm getting pushback at a principalities and powers level.
Yeah.
It also manifests socially.
Yes. Okay. I'm glad you said it, because even as we're talking, like, dude, I'm learning to shut up. But there was some things when I was on Discord a lot, and I was listening and getting involved. It got sketchy spiritually. And I'm like, and I didn't want to let go. And I could feel the dissonance in my spirit. And I'm like, God, what is this? Am I sinning? I'm picking up other people's junk. There's, that's all there is to it. I'm sorry. I like these people, but some of them got issues. And it's my fault if I don't recognize it and deal with it properly for myself. It's like estuary is a place of fresh water and salt water. I am a freshwater creature that can tolerate some salt water, but really not a lot, at least not for long times. It's not healthy. All right.
Or we're here. We're here.
Yeah.
See, okay. This is where it gets interesting. When you come up against something, right? Because I'll check it and I'll say, am I not supposed to be doing this? Am I not supposed to be doing so much of this? In fact, the message I'm getting is more.
Really? Okay.
More.
Okay.
Not more online. In fact, I'm consuming less corner content.
Yeah.
I'm just supposed to keep pushing.
Okay.
And I'm getting lots of people saying they're frustrated with there's too much to follow, there's too much to watch, we can't do it. William said it right at the beginning. I love William. The thing is this is the impression I have of what I think is this. I'm going to really go all out. I'm going to go all out on the woo, guys. Hang in there with me. What I think is the Lord's strategy is it's not about consuming. It's not about keeping up with all of the material. It's about radiating light. Sorry about it. I hit my mic, folks.
Yeah.
It's about radiating light, and it hits whomever it hits. You're scattering seed, and you'll catch some and let the other stuff go.
Right.
If you don't have time for it, that's fine. It's just here to catch those who are supposed to catch it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and some it's yes, we're in a sense it's maybe we're manipulating the algorithm with just volume, but the idea is to just keep scattering the seed, let it fall where it falls. Sometimes it will grow something, and sometimes it won't. But for each individual, there we don't know who. I'm meeting new people every day. I mean, I just randomly will just get a new email or a new something that just comes across, and it's like it's interesting. It seems to be of the Lord, but the question is there is a sense of I am always feeling vulnerable after I do this.
Okay.
And feeling some kind of sense of, like I said, there's some level of spiritual pushback at the principalities and powers level that I don't quite grasp. And this is where we, this is a team effort.
Right.
It's because I don't think we're just producing. What is this channel, right? This channel is like useless as your conventional YouTube channel.
Right.
It is purely about putting whatever we're doing. We're doing it to reach people and in a way that resonates at a spiritual level and lifts them up
Right.
in whatever way God wants.
Right.
And it's my pleasure to participate and also my experience to grow and learn. It's not that it's not that there isn't good content in the corner.
Right.
It's just that it's not academic in nature. It's not political in nature. Truly, in its truest sense, it's not academic in its nature. It's not truly political. It may look political sometimes. It may look academic sometimes. It may look very smart and psychological. But what we're really trying to do is lift each other out of the muck and carry forward with the gospel.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Is any of that making sense?
Yes. No, actually I'll go back to Grimm's lobster monkeys. You have the monkeys climbing up the ladders. You got other ones tearing them down, and we're here to lift each other up. And this is community and friendship. And the Northwestuary, for me, I'm like, actually, I already knew you guys were friends the moment I walked into this place. I'm like, these guys love each other. It's like a bar. It's like a perfect bar. It's big, roomy.
Well, go back though real quick to you're catching people's junk.
Oh yeah. All right. When I was on Discord a lot, I'm finding brilliant people who don't have a lot of love in their heart, and I want to be careful because that could sound.
It depends on the person. You've got lots of participants.
Yeah, there's some people there are some people that, well, listen, if this is the house of woo, I'm going to go woo. I'll give you a dream that'll explain it. So I'm in Discord and I'm just feeling some sort of weird way in my heart, and sometimes the ears are ringing, and I'm like, okay, this is my fault. I have a dream, and in the dream. Now, there's one particular person on Discord. I don't know him that well. Brilliant. And he can engage with brilliant people, and he can overturn their arguments, which isn't bad. But in the dream, what I saw, it was like it was like a scalpel. It was black, like a obsidian stone. It was a black scalpel with a large handle on it. And I thought of this one person. And what I come to understand is some people, their words, our words cut, whether you like it or not. Power of life and death is in the tongue. And what it is this person, I realize, wields their words with such, it's like it's almost like a slasher. You might have the ability of a surgeon, but if you don't watch your words, you're going to hurt people, and you can hurt them bad. And they don't understand the spirit they're operating in. They think they're just when they start to win a philosophical argument and they see someone twisting, they enjoy it, or they don't care. And I'm not saying that in the way they said it, because I was actually listening to when they were overcoming this one person, and actually out of their own words,
Was this in a dream? Was this in a dream or actually?
No, I'm sorry. The dream was simply I saw the scalpel. It was black.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
And that indicated that the person was incredibly precise, sharp, and it can cutting if used properly could be used as a surgeon, but it was black, and it was.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah.
And then in real life, I heard that and out of this person's own mouth, they go, "Yeah, I was talking with so and so, and I was overcoming them in the argument or the conversation." And they go, and there was a point in the conversation at which, when I was winning, that they took it personally. He goes, "I didn't realize that." He goes, and then he goes, after that, he goes, and then after that, I just kind of enjoyed it. I'm like, if he did, so what? And it was one moment where I'm like, okay, it's not wrong to enjoy winning an argument, but the ambivalence at which he wasn't concerned about the other person's emotional impact that this fellow was having on him. And in general, I see it not just in one conversation, but in a lot. It's an overarching lack of understanding of how he affects people, and how if he doesn't like a conversation, he can tear it apart, but he doesn't have a loving frame to replace it. If he breaks a frame, well, no, wait, I'm trying to use words I shouldn't. It's not about frames. It's just the way this person cuts. And in Discord, there's a lot of people in there a lot of times that are just having fun. They're bantering. It's like a demolition derby. It's fun. But there's sometimes when I hear it's mean or it's never ending, or there are times when I'll say it, there are people in there that they've got spirits they don't know. They don't even know how to get free. Well, actually, I take that back. I think some of them do know, but they're okay with it and they don't know how to get free. And to even say that they have a problem, it would take.
Sometimes to say you have a problem is like saying you need an exorcism, right?
Yeah.
You have a moment where it's just too much. I can't admit to that, right? I can't. Or going way back, it was like when I was young, it's like admitting to my family that I had depression or something. That would be that would be a taboo. It's too much. That's something we just can't entertain, right?
Yeah. And
so here's my question to you.
Yeah.
Is there a place for what do we do in response to that? As what's this?
Can I throw something out?
Yeah, go for it. Just shoot. Yeah.
First off, I should pray more. I should pray. If I know better, if I'm the fireman or the lifeguard or the guy who knows, the first thing is prayer. I ain't been doing that enough. I need to cowboy up and help those that don't know they need help. I know I've prayed for some people here, and I've liked it, but it starts with prayer. Then I don't know what to do after that. That's kind of, actually, I think you're better at that. It's kind of like why I'm talking to you, because you're, I know what I'm talking about. And sometimes I don't know if I should even, if it's my fight. Just because I know stuff doesn't mean it's time for me to do anything, except for, maybe it's not, maybe I should just shut up. Oh, here's a funny thing. For the past year or two, maybe, God's been just telling me to be quiet. And it's very peaceful. Not like shut up. It's more like, be quiet. And when I do, it's beautiful. Immediately. But I don't, it's a mixed bag. I don't want, I'm not, it's not to turn off the computer and just go be a hermit. But there's some sort of power in quiet. Very, and it does overcome the demonic. It's so weird. I don't understand it. But what do we do what do I do in the corner to help those? I think I stalk. And what I mean by that is I wait for moments of openness, build relationship, build trust, listen to testimonies like yours and others that stretch me to maybe, if I'm wrong about some of these things I'm sensing. For me, TLC is very Christian, at least the ones I hang out with. There's other people that here that aren't, and I like them and love them. It's not.
Right.
But the ones that I've seen that are Christian, there's a few real smart, and they got issues they don't know they have issues. But God worked me out, so why should I fret too hard? If he got me, he'll get them.
Well, there's a tension there. It seems to me that we're intended. Well, somebody played along to get me where I am, and then I turn around and play along to get other people, to get them further along, or to prevent some very bad outcomes. It's too complicated to fathom, right? I mean, all you can do is be present and manifest the gifts of the Spirit, the fruit of the Spirit, where you're at. More specifically, the fruit. I'm thinking, love, joy, peace, patience, and then the gifts will come in and supplement where you need a little more than just love and joy. You need something more powerful. Yeah. Well, and here's a weird question maybe to close on it would be can you talk and still be quiet? It's like in a state of quiet, speak from that. You're still talking, but you're not. It's not all just. Is there a peace and quiet out of which you can speak to the corner?
Yeah, I think for me, because I like that, maybe being a better listener. I would like that.
But you are a pretty good listener, Ron. I think you're an excellent listener.
Dude, I feel like one of those dolls that you pull a string on and just
No, you're really not. You're not. I know you
well,
feel it. Maybe that could be some of your own inner stuff that's still sorting, but I don't think. No, you're a very good listener.
oh, I think listening spiritually. I since you're asking, I think I'm processing this live. I sense the spirit now, and when I'm at peace and calm, and when I speak, the spirit and the calm stay. So for me to be aware of the spirit's presence at all time, and don't rustle the dove. If I have something to say it. And if not, chill. Wait till something happens. I bet you I think they'd keep me out of a lot of trouble too.
Do you get in much trouble?
My mouth has got, dude, I got a rap.
Dude.
If I could have learned this lesson about 20 years ago, yeah, my mouth's gotten me in trouble. Yeah. But I'm learning, you bump your head enough. You're like, okay, I think I'm going to try to remember that. And listening, I'm starting to value it. And I think it's maybe better valuing other people. Just trying to see what's in their head and heart. Just let it out. Not to muddle in their heart, but just to see what's going on in
we can
them.
do here
Maybe
is
help
try to
them
help.
muddle it.
Oh, we got a little lag. Sorry. I talked over you. Finish your thought?
Oh no, we're good. It's if I'm quiet, I think I'll be a better listener, better conversationalist, so that I can hear other people's hearts and see what happens after that. You know who's a good one at that? Actually, two people, Clara and Chad. Clara, she's sneaky. She listens. She's a good listener. She has good questions. And Chad as well. So
we've got several. I think Tayo is excellent.
Oh, yeah. Well, everyone knows Ty. He's like
Tayo's so good at it. Everybody just forgets that he's good at it.
Yeah, he's the grand master. He's like,
Cassandra has a good one here. I used to think I was a good listener. Then I realized you can listen without hearing. That's true.
I think that was me. Yeah. I was thinking past other people's conversation. I think that's something I realize from this place. Stop trying to anticipate where the conversation's going.
Right.
That's, for me, that's different. And I think I like that. Just don't try to think the next thing. See what happens.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this will be a space where people can come on, and if they don't come on, they can always record ahead. We can come up with some method to record people's stories if they just want to record a testimony for 10 and 20 minutes or whatever. We can do that. Just, you got my email. It's on my channel, Redlands Village Market Gmail, and we can always set up a time to record. Because that'd be fun. They have a kind of testimony aspect to this.
Yeah.
and for folks who just want to come on. It was just you. The link was here the whole time, but no one chose to come on. So we've had an audience, not a huge one, but we've had an audience.
I got a question for you, and I'm not,
Sure.
unless you got it, like I'll make this quick. So, how does this fit in? And does it? Pardon, how does this fit in to? This is curious. I'm getting to the corner, and that's interesting. I'm getting tickle in my throat. Coming out of left field. All right, whatever. How does this fit into the corner? This is cute. I can't even talk. It's weird. Anyhow, how can it? I guess I don't know if I'm asking how to inadvertently. Man, my voice has just gone. How does this fit in? How do you think? Give me a drink of that.
This
Yeah, this kind
this
of
discussion.
in general, the House of Woo. Just the
Should I say it in public?
don't have to, because here's the thing. But it's been it's been like
We'll talk out loud or think out loud, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead. Finish your thought, though.
am I trying to do something that this corner isn't meant to do? Like the corner is about Peterson philosophy, estuary, stuff like that. And I wonder if this is just a different, if it's not the right venue, or I don't even know if, does anyone even want this? I know it is beneficial, though. I will say that, because I've talked to two people that have had significant spiritual encounters, one at Northwestuary and another one in personal prayer. And I helped just process, they had a spiritual moment. I mean, a significant healing and encounter with God. So I know it's useful, but it's just, am I trying to shove a square peg into a round hole? It's kind of
think, to tell you the truth, I
Yeah.
think it's just as you've seen Peterson's experience change. His message has changed as he's changed, and some people aren't up to the change. They still have the old
Okay.
Peterson on recordings, right? On video
Right.
and what
Yeah.
have you.
Yeah.
But he's moved on from his old message. You got the corner, I think, is more PVK.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And
that's-
PVK, when push comes to shove, is still a Christian pastor.
You're right.
And he's a Christian pastor with a little bit of, as he mentions in the talk we had, with a little bit of charismania in his background, a little bit of
Right.
charismatic stuff going
Saw
on.
that.
I think this is an extension of a long arc. We're more bricks in the road.
Okay.
And what we're doing is we can't force it.
Right.
We'll either have people show up or they won't show up.
Okay.
And
I can live with that.
yeah, and the question is what's it doing for us? What are we participating in? Is this I definitely have a sense that we're supposed to bring a little bit more of what we have to offer
Okay.
to this sphere.
Right.
Or it's just as I feel like it's a sense that I'm doing the same thing in my local church.
Hmm.
You know, what is this? Why is this former vineyardite, this charismaniac Christian with this
Right.
weird background, this completely strange story at a Church
Yeah.
of Christ?
Right.
I'm not there to change them, but at the same time, I'm there to help them.
Right.
It's like, I'm not here to change the corner. I'm just here to minister to it. In the same way, Paul goes around evangelizing the cities of the Roman Empire and in the Eastern
Mhm.
Mediterranean. What does he do? He always starts with the local synagogue.
Right.
And who does he talk to? More often than not, he's talking to the ones who will listen to him. They're the God-fearers. They're the
Mhm.
non-Jewish attendees to the synagogue.
Was that the
The
average?
Gentiles. Say again. Yeah, he's talking
Yeah.
to the Gentile God-fearers.
Okay.
We're bringing. There are people on the margins who maybe the thinky-talky isn't closing the deal for them.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
Well, the thinky-talky never closed the deal for me. My experience is, again, this goes back to the giving what you have, or at least operating from your own experience. You know, silver and gold have I none, but what I have, I'll give you. You know,
Yeah. Okay.
stand up and walk.
Yeah.
For those who can handle it, I can bring that at a level.
Yeah.
Not at St. Peter's level, but I can bring it. I can bring that. If anybody wants a kind of spiritual breakthrough of the nature they think that, of a nature that they think I can help them with, I'm happy to pray with you, meet you all privately, more often than not, because we're thousands of miles away or hundreds of miles away, over phone or Discord, voice or something. But I can communicate with you publicly or privately in any way you want to help move the puck along in your life, to get you to help you with whatever struggles you find yourself in. I'm sure you feel the same way. You're here to help. And I think we have something like that to offer that is atypical to the corner. And then the corner, out there are a lot of corner citizens that bring a lot of stuff that we don't have and can use. And so we reinforce each other as a good community would. What keeps bringing you back to the corner?
It was an instinct. I had a very bad experience at a church about a year ago, spring. And Sherry did an interview with Martin Shaw. And it was at a critical moment in my life that just validated some things that were getting pushed against hard. And it was, I think, maybe looking back on it, an online community that was like a life preserver. It wasn't church, but it was pretty good. And it got me through a very difficult time. And I sensed there was a skill set here that I didn't have. I didn't even understand that I needed. But I wanted to see but I knew I needed. I just saw I didn't understand it. And it reminded me of when I first gave my heart to Jesus. I felt nothing, but I was determined to find out what this was all about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I'm here. There's something almost subconscious, instinctual, maybe spirit led instead of subconscious, instinctual. The spirit is guiding me and I don't know it, but I feel drawn, feel drawn.
All right.
And it's so there's a drawing. And now talking like this feels like I'm landing in a place that I've been waiting to land for a while. I've tried to get into other conversations and I've met, and they've been kind and generous, but I don't play like them. I don't have the skills. It's been fun. But this actually feels right here, right now. This is what I do. This is who I am. I'm not trying to be anyone or fit in anywhere. And we have like, oh, okay, I know who you are. You met him too? You were, oh, okay, yeah, I was that guy. And then it feels like this is a place, and this is a place to start again. It seems like I've been, no, this is a place to start again. I've been waiting to be placed somewhere for a while. And I think this is it. This makes sense. This feels right. It's not about me, it's about him.
Mm-hmm.
I can, whatever happens, I don't care. Let's just have some fun until it happens.
Right.
And honestly, that's how it always starts. The big stuff, you don't plan it. You just do something. Then he gives the increase, and then whammo.
And whammo. Yeah. That's kind of my experience too. Is it?
So it feels this feels right, Mark. I like this.
Good. All right. Well, we better close it then, because
Yeah,
I want to
let's
close
land the
on a high
plane.
note.
Yeah,
Unless
ladies
it's your
and gentlemen.
bedtime too.
Oh yeah, I got some chocolate chip cookies I'm going to waterboard.
Oh, okay. Good. All right. Thank you, Ron. We'll do it again. You want to think about is this a good day, good time for you? Thursdays at this time good for you? Or not?
Thursdays, I usually do Mexican religiously, but it just so happens my Mexican mafia partners, they went off deer hunting. So
I meant not what you eat. Is that what you're talking about?
well, no, Thursdays are usually I usually do Mexican.
You go out with friends?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
yeah.
Well, think of another day if it's Tuesday that's better or something.
Tuesdays are great.
Oh, Thursdays work?
No,
or
Tuesday.
Tuesday might be better.
Yeah.
Let's see how that goes. Every other Tuesday, or at least 2 Tuesdays a month. I keep hitting my mic. I apologize. They're having the Chino Estuary. I might try going to the Chino Estuary.
Oh wow.
But we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Well, I'll tell you what. If we don't push it, if we just do it when we can,
that might be for now what we do.
Yeah, because I would like to invite people or.
Yeah, I know. We need more people to show up, to come in. Do you have Sunday night church?
No. Sunday nights are fine.
Maybe if we did a Sunday evening thing.
Yeah, I'd like that. That'd be cool.
That might be cool. Sunday morning's very earlier time where I often can interview people who are halfway around the world. It works well though, because it's like my 6 a.m. is their 6 p.m. or something. And so I
Right.
just, and it works out okay and gives me time to get ready for church and stuff.
Yeah.
But
And even Sundays throughout the day, I'm pretty flexible. Sunday mornings, Sunday evenings. we can
yeah, I
figure
feel
it
like
out.
as long as if it's of a spiritual nature, it's a fruitful time. It can
Yeah.
be. I don't want to make it about poor content, but
No, it's
but yeah, it's thank you, Ron. It like you really you are a good listener and you do bring a lot, and I'm glad this feels right. It's yeah, it's I think we're part of the whole process of taking the corner to the next level, and I have thought from time to time that there is a larger revival afoot. It's not fully manifested yet, but I think this is all what's happening in the corner and what's happening in other places.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Invite the usual suspects that you know that like to play and say, guys, everybody, and that guys is whoever, just invite them and go, we're going to talk about Woo and see where it goes. Because, bring Tayo in or somebody and just, he's got,
Yep.
he can do
he's amazing. He's
Yeah.
amazing. He's also 7 hours or 8 hours ahead of us. What is the GMT?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So there's always that challenge for him. But yeah,
Well, and
we'll
also,
keep playing with it. We'll just keep playing with it. But
yeah,
it's anyway, Ron, have a good night. Enjoy
Mark,
the cookies.
I will.
Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
company.
yeah,
And the
it's
wisdom.
fun. We should get this is branding like Chips Ahoy, dude. Give us money.
See you later.
All right, I'll see you. Bye.
Good night.
All right.